My name is Alevizos. I'm the principal solution architect at Satori. Satori is a strong Microsoft partner, and we're in the Azure marketplace. And the slides will be pretty quick, and then we'll jump into a live demonstration. Satori is in the business of protecting structured and semi-structured data. There's several aspects of that, which we'll cover. All of the companies we work with are multi-cloud and multi-database vendor. They're not monolithic in nature. They don't place all of their data assets, into one cloud provider or one asset layer. And as a result, they have big challenges around securing disparate data sources. They also tend to run lots of different projects which operate with different speeds and cadences and life cycles. And they can't wait around for all of those projects to come to completion in order to secure them. So there's different trains leaving the station at different speeds and different times. And they need fast operational solutions that are nimble and powerful. Satori helps with that, of course. They do want to manage all of that from one primary location. And so for Microsoft, Satori ends up being a pretty critical tool to help them achieve that. Specifically, one focus that you're going to see in the presentation today is around using well-defined user identity that comes from Active Directory. That includes role-based access as well as attribute access, so RBAC and ABAC. Savita actually touched on this earlier in the presentation, and even one of our attendees, Marlo, asked a question about confidential information and security and how to protect that. And this is exactly what Satori tries to solve for. And so as we said, Satori is an Azure partner. We're listed in the marketplace. Everything you're about to see is available for evaluation, and we'll put a link in later. The aspects of protecting your data and securing it it's like a menu. And with the Satori platform, you get all of the items on the menu. That could include securing all of your multi-cloud data locations and data assets, providing access management and workflow for those, automatically detecting sensitive data like a social or an email or linkable PII, masking and redaction, principle of least privilege, blocking queries when they're not authorized, and of course, integrating with Azure single sign-on and using all of the information that's in Active Directory. That's the most valuable asset in terms of driving a data security solution. So what you're going to see in this demo in a moment is an integration with Active Directory. We have defined some simple attributes with some users, and Satori integrates with that automatically. And we even pick up those attributes using a protocol, an open source standard known as SCIM. And so we've defined, we kept it simple and did like a geographic example, but these ideas of using the valuable information that's in AD really apply to any kind of attributes, department, functional, geographic, whatever it might be. So I have a couple of slides just to save time, and then we'll go into kind of a live demo. So here is an Active Directory user whose name is Satori Demo User 1. And the arrow on the screen is sort of calling out that this person is in charge of data that's Texas, right? So there's an attribute on the screen, state equals Texas. And we have another user whose state code is Massachusetts. And try to remember that as we go through, this is sort of the breadcrumb of the, the demonstration. And then finally, here's a screenshot of our integration. Here's that second user. And you can see we've picked up all of their attributes automatically from Azure. And I've called out, that we see that this person also has Massachusetts as far as their state code. I'll keep my eyes open for any questions that come in. So let's jump into the platform. The first thing I'm going to show is the management console as if I was an administrator or data steward, just to give everybody, in the meeting here, a 90-second overview of Satori before we actually show the sort of Microsoft specific aspects of it. So this experience, from a governance point of view, I'm in as a CISO or a data steward or so forth, gives you a true unified view of all of your sensitive data and in the following ways. So for example, you have dashboarding built in, including creating your own dashboards. You have the ability to see and understand what kinds of permissions have been defined in your data layer. You have a unified view with what we call the access manager. This tells me, all the traffic that's running through Satori, is it governed or not? Do we have rules defined or not? What are those access rules? What are the open access requests? Who has requested something in the past? Can we see the history of data access? This turns out to be really valuable from a compliance and a regulatory point of view. We have built-in reporting, right? So you can have unlimited reports in here showing different aspects of your data. We have every query that passes through the product ends up in the audit log. This one's set to last 5 minutes, so there's nothing there. That's quite deliberate. We're going to run some queries in a moment. But you can create views and reports showing what actions did Satori take? Where is the user? Who are they? What are their attributes? What rules were triggered? What client software are they using? Are they using Power BI or Power Apps or Tableau or the next 300 data clients? We see all of that. We automatically detect inventory. So if I drill into a Synapse location, I have a table I created for this Angelbeat webinar. In the past, Satori automatically found sensitive data and automatically tagged it. And then I added one by hand, which gets a slightly different icon. And then finally, a Satori data set. This is your chance to create a catalog, essentially a kind of shopping cart experience for connecting to secure or sensitive data and also managing that workflow. So getting back to the original premise, most of our customers, they don't just have SQL Server. They don't just have Redshift or some other data vendor. They have heterogeneity. They have disparate data all over the place. Satori supports that. So on the screen, you're seeing a data set that's now available to be accessed or connected to or requested. And it's actually securing 4 totally unrelated data vendors: the Snowflake database, Amazon Redshift, SQL Server, and Synapse. And then I've defined some rules. An Active Directory group might have access, but down below, other people might be able to request access and so forth. And on and on it goes. We're going to come back to this in a moment, but now I'd like to switch gears and actually log in to Power BI as one of those 2 users. And so let's go in as the first one. I believe this person gets Texas data. And we have support for things like row level filtering on the fly. So I've got a very simple dashboard in here, and it's live. It's using a live connection, but it's routed through Satori. So when this person number 1 connects, they should only be allowed to see their Texas data. So here it is, it's loading. And the rest of the process, as far as like connecting and all of that, is transparent. I've got the lowest powered Synapse horsepower, so it's the bare minimum in terms of CPU and such. Sure enough, on the screen you're seeing Texas, 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 and there's much more data in here, which I'll show in a moment. And life goes on, right? This person is able to do their job. They're connecting to secure data. We're even masking, so you can see socials masked, phone number, the email is partially masked, the last name's redacted. All of those are rules you get to define in Satori. Let's actually log out and go in as the second person. So again, I'll go to the Power BI link. This time I'll go in as Satori demo user 2. And I'm going to open up the exact same dashboard, and you'll see that you can publish one solution and make it available to a large community, right? So you don't have to create multiple reports for multiple areas and so forth. So this person's coming in, and I think, yep, they get Massachusetts. Everything else is the same. It's the exact same dashboard with data filtering. So that all shows up in Satori. If we come back to the product now and take a look at the audit log, you'll see those queries from the last 5 minutes. It's a live connection. There they are. We know who you are, what groups you're a member of, what query you ran, and what policies were applied, right? So on the screen here, we chose to do some masking or filtering and so forth, and took various actions accordingly, right? So if we drill in, I think to this fourth one, we can actually pull up the fact that both masking and filtering were applied. If we drill into the masking, this is a very intelligent part of Satori. What you don't see on the screen is database name, dot table, schema name, dot table name, dot column name. Satori is able to create abstract rules. So I can come in here and change this to the word angel and make this change also. And you'll see that these things are reflected on the fly. Maybe I'll call this one Ron redacted. And maybe I'll say that the email, instead of masking the username, we should just redact the whole thing. So I'm going to make some quick changes like that. That change is live. It's hot. Any policy or data product that's using that masking profile has automatically picked up that change. Similarly, our row level filtering. I want a group of people in charge of Europe to only see European data. I want a second group in charge of Canada to only see Canadian data, and Singapore and so forth, because I have very stringent regulatory requirements. That's all nicely managed in Satori. On the screen, you're seeing 4 data vendors: Snowflake, Redshift, Azure SQL Server, Synapse, all referring to different locations and sharing the same filter logic. The filter logic itself is remarkably simple. What you're not seeing on the screen is the word Texas or the word Massachusetts. That comes from Microsoft. That is defined in Active Directory. Our customers have put an incredible amount of time and effort into maintaining a smart and tight and efficient Active Directory experience. They don't want duplicate security implemented elsewhere. Satori totally supports that. So this simply says, only show the user their state. And by the way, if you need 2 or 3 or 4 filters and it needs to be more complex, that's also totally supported. We just try to keep it nice and simple. Remember, we talked about how you want to use Microsoft as your primary, single source of truth. So let me pull up. I need to get some of the Zoom windows out of the way. But let's switch gears here for a moment and actually show a Snowflake connection. Notice it says satoricyber.net in the URL. But here too, we've integrated with Azure. So if I drill in, it picked up some bad SAML response because I think I was already logged in with the Power BI solution. So let's try that again. Let me go back to Power BI and just log off for a second and clear my sessions, and then come back over here, see if we can get this to work. Now it should hopefully prompt me. Perfect. So I'll come in as Satori demo user 1. They should get that Texas information, but this is not SQL Server anymore. This is not Synapse, and yet I'm letting Microsoft control the experience. And so let's go ahead and see what this might look like, from a heterogeneity point of view, right? Disparate data managed across different database vendors. I'll just do a select statement here, and we should only see Texas data. Let's go find the state column. Sure enough, the filtering has occurred. Also note that masking change I made a moment ago, that kicked in also. Nice real-time protection, and I changed the email from that partial masking to just the word redacted. We could do the same thing over in even a third solution. In this case, I happen to have a different BI tool up on the screen, Tableau, connected to Redshift, being controlled by the Microsoft Active Directory. So on the screen here, if I were to create a new workbook, I'm already using again, we've got a little caching problem. Let's see what's going on here. Come back out here. Using the same experience as far as having Microsoft Active Directory define who I am and what powers I have. This one's not loading. Here it comes. This too is a unified example, right? So if I come in here, I'm also in as that first demo user. And so if I start to do some drag and drop, this could be Power BI, this could be the next several dozen tools. we'll see those live changes, right? So email should now say partial redaction. I think I need to do a quick refresh here. Let's see what happens. There it is. You see how it changed on the fly. The state code should only be Texas, and any other changes I made, like first name or last name or address, it should now say like Angelbeat instead of whatever else it was. Sure enough, it says Angel redacted. So Satori, just to sort of conclude here, is in the business of real-time protection of all of your data assets wherever they may live. And the key, unifying factor here is that we not only embrace but highly recommend integrations with, Microsoft Active Directory, as well as the attributes that are in Active Directory. I'll conclude by quickly pulling up one last screen. I think we're doing good for time, which is that everything you saw, you could head over to our website and get access to our documentation, sign up, all that good stuff, all pretty straightforward.